Meet the new boss, Steve Huffman, and meet his new, or shall I say, rather reunited partner, Alexis Ohanian. And together, these are the two guys who are going to continue the destruction of Reddit as we know it, and the birth of the new, commercially friendly Reddit from its ashes. Now, quite a lot of Redditors thought that with the return of Huffman, we'd see Reddit's board change its direction. After all, this is the co-founder, the prodigal son has returned from the wilderness. But as you will soon see in this video, this is not going to be the case. So buckle your seatbelts, and I'll begin. Now, as we know, Ellen Pao was sacked. No, resigned from Reddit earlier this month due to the community's intense backlash against the site's new policies, specifically the purges of hateful and problematic subs like Fat People Hate and Neofag, and the sacking of key personnel such as Victoria, the moderator of the AMAs. The list goes on, especially her and by extension the board's blatant disregard and lack of respect for the community and the entire user base in general. So she's gone, and according to ex-CEO before Pao, Yishan Wang, Pao was hung out to dry and that she was used to take the inevitable backlash and is a victim of the Reddit board's plans, especially Ohanian. But is he right? Well, let's hear from him. But the most malicious part of this is that on at least two separate occasions, the board pressed UEKJP, no, Ellen Pao, to outright ban all the hate subreddits in a sweeping purge. She resisted, knowing the community, claiming it would be a shit show. Ellen isn't some evil, manipulative, out-of-touch, incompetent she-devil as she was often depicted. She was approved by the board and recommended by me because when I left, she was the only technology executive anywhere who had the chops and experience to manage a start-up of this size, and who understood what Reddit was all about. As you can see from her post-resignation activity, she knows perfectly well how to fit in with the Reddit community and is a normal, funny person, just like in real life. She simply didn't sit on Reddit all day because she was busy with her day job. Now, I see something problematic. Don't get me wrong, she's an ideal person to take most of the flack from the community. She's the CEO. Ultimately, it is the CEO who must shoulder most of the blame. However, I cannot and I will not agree that she's resisting these large sweeping changes. She was most definitely hired because she suited the direction Reddit wanted to go in. She has shown throughout her tenure that she did not know the community at all and was completely out of touch. Manipulative is too far, but I don't recall anyone calling her that as far as I'm concerned. He is strawmanning the entire community, but he's her friend, so he's going to give her a glowing article. The agenda is clear. I think they all knew they would get negative feedback, but not to the extent they thought they would get. I also reckon that they did not expect her to be so inept. She did not have the chops or the experience to manage Reddit, which, by the way, is not a start-up. It's going on for nearly 10 years now. It's far from a start-up at all. Just look at her previous history. She was fired for not being good for her job, and her attempt to sue her companies made her look pathetic. How Reddit thought she was ideal, I do not know. Sure, a person who can't even use the website properly to send a personal message understands what Reddit was about. Someone who tries to limit its core principle of free speech understands it. I couldn't care less what she may be like as a person. It has no bearing on her job. She showed herself to be a shit CEO. He continues, Ellen was more or less inclined to continue upholding my free speech policies. Our Fat People Hate was banned for inciting off-site harassment, not discussing fat shaming. What all the white power, racist, sexist netbeards don't understand is that with her at the head of the company would be immune to accusations of promoting sexism and racism. She's literally Silicon Valley's #1 feminist hero, so any SJWs would have a hard time attacking the company for intentionally creating a bastion of sexist, racist content. She probably would have tolerated your existence so long as you didn't cause any problems. I know that her long-term strategies were to find ways to surface and publicise Reddit's good parts, allowing the bad parts to exist but keeping them out of the spotlight. She clearly wasn't. Can you see the agenda here? He's calling the community white, netbeard, racist and sexist. He knows what the whole point of these changes was, to appeal to the wider world and SJWs, to make money off of them. She's less of a hero and more of a villain, and her court case shows that. Do you seriously think Fat People Hate was banned because of that? Why was Neofag banned? They could have taken down Coontown and Crackertown, but they didn't. Or were they going to before she was shit-canned? They were never going to allow problematic subs to exist alongside the good ones, and he damn well knows it. so he's wrong about that. But he seems to think from the article that Ohanian was the one that had the most power, the one who was truly pulling the strings. I think it was 50-50. She was an interim CEO, she was always going to be temporary, and I think they all worked together to get Reddit to the mess it is currently in now. No bias and unobjective article from her friends will disprove that. So enough about Powell, let's get back to Ohanian and Huffman. Even though Wong is clearly writing within the gender and bias, he doesn't make the new regime look any better. But they never looked any better when they released their official statement. The statement itself clearly said, and I quote, "If the Reddit community cannot learn to balance authenticity and compassion, it may be a great website, but it will never be a truly great community. Steve's great challenge as CEO, too, will be continuing the work Ellen started to drive this forward." And people thought Huffman was here to return things back to normalcy. It seems people here were too caught up in the furore of victory over Powell to actually read the statement. They want this to happen. She was brought in to make way for Huffman to actually go ahead and fully implement the new Reddit. Let's hear it straight from the man himself on what they are going to do. There's been a lot of discussion lately on Reddit, in the news and here internally, about Reddit's policy on the more offensive and obscene content on our platform. Our top priority at Reddit is to develop a comprehensive content policy and the tools to enforce it. Of course, they are planning to deal with this obscene content with these new tools and a content policy, which of course is to limit free speech and continue shadow banning despite what he said. The overwhelming majority of content on Reddit comes from wonderful, creative, funny, smart and silly communities. That is what makes Reddit great. There's also a dark side, communities whose purpose is reprehensible, and we don't have any obligation to support them. And we also believe that some communities currently on the platform should not be here at all. You don't have to support them, you don't have to acknowledge their views and condone their actions. But at the same time, if they're not harming anyone, why should they not be here at all, you say? They are telling us plainly what they want to do. They want to censor and remove the reprehensible subs so they can make money, so they can be more palatable as a business to advertisers, companies and potential customers who wouldn't like to see these things like Coontown or Crackertown. But at one point did the actual reprehensive subreddits stop being a smokescreen for the actual subs they want to close, like Kotaku in Action or the other subs that were the most vocal in their opposition to the new rules and Ellen Powell? This is what it is. It's not about morality. It is about silencing the opposition. Neither Alexis nor I created Reddit to be a bastion of free speech, but rather as a place where open and honest discussion can happen. These are very complicated issues, and we are putting a lot of thought into it. It's something we've been thinking about for quite some time. We haven't had the tools to enforce policy, but now we're building tools and re-evaluating our policy. I can't even believe the doublespeak he just pulled on us. How can Reddit not be a bastion of free speech, but at the same time be a place of honest and open discussion? It's not as complicated as he would like you to believe. You either have unfettered free speech and be the open and honest place of discussion, or you do not. They have the tools to enforce policy. They just want to change it so then places like Kotaku in Action and other dissenting subreddits can be banned. He wants speech that he agrees with, not speech he disagrees with. Besides, here's what Alexis himself has to say, which is in complete odds to what you just said in Forbes circa 2012. And I'll also quote the article for context. Since Ohanian is a graduate of UVA, he jokingly claims a direct link to Thomas Jefferson. I have a feeling the Founding Fathers would give a big look of disapproval at the effect of lobbying dollars on our elected officials, he says. Speaking of the Founding Fathers, I ask him what he thinks they would have thought of Reddit, a bastion of free speech on the World Wide Web. I bet they would like it, he replies. It's a digital form of political pamphlets. Yes, with much wider distribution and without the inky fingers, he says. I would love to imagine that common sense would have been a self-post on Reddit by Thomas Paine. Or actually a Redditor named T. Paine. Enough said. We as a community need to decide together, they say, what our values are. To that end, I'll be hosting an AMA on Thursday 1pm PST to present our current thinking to you, the community, and solicit your feedback. The community knows the values. It's freedom of speech and expression. Clearly you are out of touch with the community. I have no intention of deciding together with them what Reddit's values should be. Why else would you purge it of subs? Why, if rumours be correct, that you're willing to do it so again? If we should all work together. So, are you still not convinced? Well, Let Alan Bakari convince you this is his take on Wong's article, and about the board being the ones behind everything. Furthermore, he says, Wong alleged that Huffman was far more willing to ban controversial Reddit communities than either himself or Powell. According to Wong, Huffman once told him that when he was CEO, he would ban offensive content right away. There's a possibility that Wong is just causing trouble. He describes himself as a personal friend of Ellen Powell, and he's clearly angry with the way she has been treated by the Reddit board of directors. He recently described the failure to explain Powell was not responsible for the sacking of Victoria Taylor, the incident that sparked the second Reddit revolt, as an incredibly shitty thing to do. But enterprising Reddit users have unearthed evidence that points to the truth of Wong's assessment of Steve Huffman. Posts from 2008 and 2010 show him banning users that engage in hate speech on the spot and editing offensive usernames. So Huffman himself has never been the person that people thought he would be. He's always been one of the most pro-censorship people on the site. And don't worry, Alexis is not better. Just look at who he supports on Patreon. Yep. Zoe Quinn and GamerX, two bastions of free speech, expression and tolerance. Bakari later concludes the article basically telling any Reddit user who wants to keep the old Reddit philosophy and community intact to migrate to Vote. He also says that Vote should also be aware and prepare for the oncoming exodus of furthermore Reddit users. I would say the same. Reddit, as I will continue to say, is fucked. So you've met the new boss. It turns out he's not only an old boss, but the same as the old boss. This has been Charming Man 93. Like, share the video, drop a comment, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you later.